Hi, Julie.
Hi, Tammy.
I'm so excited to have you on The Art of Relating today. And I wanted to bring you on just because, this last year and a half, maybe, or 2 years of working together has been so deeply transformative in ways that I didn't even expect. And for anybody listening, I found Julie during a time when I was deeply in healing my codependency wounds and manifesting partnership that felt safe and secure, but like really, really diving into that pattern of really attaching to people over and over again that weren't right for me. And at the time, my own medicine was listening to Les Mis on repeat, singing on my own, and I dreamed a dream. And I have always processed, even though I wouldn't have called it processing back when I was like 24 or 23, running on the Williamsburg Bridge to Wicked, defying gravity. Like, I didn't know what I was doing then, but I guess during that time, I don't know if I was even thinking about doing voice lessons, but I saw Julie post in the group chat in Santa Fe, and she was a musical, what did you call yourself then?
I don't know, musical theater informed teacher.
Right. And so I reached out, and the rest is history. And so, Julie, I'd love to hear from you if there's anything you'd like to say about yourself and your work now, or what you would introduce your work as now.
Just want to share, too, that it was so synchronistic. Hearing from you, I remember I was sitting in my friend's house. I had just gotten home from 8 months of traveling. Perhaps this was before the travel, actually.
Yeah, it was before
this was
you
before
left.
the travel. There was another transition that I remember being in. And as soon as I put out this offering of opening up my own private studio, I heard from Tammy just her love for musical theater as well as for the healing arts. And it was just exactly the offering that I wanted to give. So it was just, mwah. It was a moment of such alignment. And I'm so grateful to have been working with you over this time. So yes, I grew up in musical theater from the age of 8. Even before that, I was belting Annie at the top of my lungs always, because both of my parents, their parents listened to musical theater, and I grew up in upstate New York. So it was just part of my upbringing. And I was in shows and singing always. It was a really big part of my youth. And it continued to be because I studied it in college. I received my BFA in musical theater at SUNY Fredonia. And then I've continued to work professionally all over the country in many different places. And when I was younger, I developed a condition that some doctors labeled as vocal cord dysfunction. Other people called it anxiety. But it was this breathing constriction. And I felt like I couldn't breathe for so many moments of my life. And that led me to seeking a healing journey in ways that the strict vessels of musical theater didn't necessarily offer me. And so I started learning about yoga and breath work and becoming a lover of the creek, of water. And that really guided me on what has been now, almost a 10-year healing journey. And the healing arts, the people, the different energetic modalities that I have learned have not only transformed my relationship with my breath and my voice, they have also strengthened my work as an actress, as a singer, and they have given me the tools to be able to offer my own kind of container, working with people to help connect with their voice. So I got my certificate in vocal sound healing, and that's what my lessons are. They are a combination of my theater training, my technical training, vocal sound healing, as well as just intuitive journeying with what I've learned as a wild woman, as Tammy, you can relate to and speak on.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about the wild woman at some point. But as you were speaking, I mean, I just like can't even begin to tell you like what a gifted practitioner you are. And when you say like you're helping people find their voice, I feel like, yes, absolutely. That's been a huge part of it. But I hate it when there's like not a way to describe our work. You know what I mean? It's also like multidimensional that sometimes it's hard to put words to it. But if I can just speak from my experience, I think like unfreezing from perfectionism with you has been so huge in our work. And also the intuitive way that you can hold space as like, you know, I work with women in trauma healing, and I feel like your intuition and the ways that you can track me and my nervous system and my emotions, and also what emotional process I'm going through that I'm coming up against, that, you know, like just through the blocks of my performance, has been like profound. And yeah, for example, just the I don't know if I'm bleeding today, everyone. So I just told Julie, like, all my blood is like not in my head. So I'm fumbling for words, but is it the right word, paradox? Or it's like the word performance. Like, this is what all of Wild Woman is about, is really like unfreezing from the performance, the good girlism, the like all the ways we had to perform as women in order to be good enough, to be sexy, to be beautiful, to be accepted, all the things. But it's like through performance and through learning with you that like my mind is like repatterning some understanding of what performance is, which is not pretty, quote unquote. It's like when we're doing these like vocal exercises and stuff, like often you're like, let's like, you know, the other day you were like, let's make a sound like a waterfall. And I thought it was going to sound like, hoo-doo-doo-doo, but you were like, I was like, Julie looks like a crazy person, you know, in her car right now with doing this lesson. And I just had this thought that like weird, like the deeper I get into performance or acting or theater, like so much of it is inherently debasing. Is that the right word? Like it just feels like it's fucking embarrassing, you know, like the things that you do to prepare yourself to be able to just authentically express your moment to moment experience. And so I don't know where I'm getting with that. It's just like, I still can't like quite put it into words, that it's more just like over and over again with you, I'm learning that it's like the ways that my body has been trained to be beautiful or pretty or to perform or to be good enough, like the ways that you can kind of call me out on like, where are you holding back? And often what I'm holding back is my grief, my rage, my despair, my suffering, because that's, you know, how my body learned to be in my family and in the world. And then when you like, it's like you call that into consciousness, and then you remind me like, let it be here. Like, let that despair be in the words. Let that anger be in the words, you know? And then when I sing in that way or when I perform in that way, I can, you know, like I'm touched and you're touched, and it's a palpable difference. And it's not about it being good. It's like, that's the main thing, is, you know, not doing it to be good at performance. I don't know, has like changed the way that I just am in the world, like as a teacher, as a friend. Yeah. I'm curious what comes up for you and me reflecting all of that.
So many different threads there to go on. It reminds me of so much of the training that I've received in the theater world and the juxtaposition of it, and how I've had to find in my own way that rawness. Like growing up, I remember wearing my pretty little dress, introducing, like my hair all pinned back, introducing myself. Hello, my name is Julie Anne Shapiro, and I will be singing La-di-di-di-di by do-do-do-do-do. And my voice just freezing. And I would have my binder. It was never perfect with me. I'd be running my ass in like 5 minutes before I needed to go on. But I had that, yes. And that was what I was taught. And at the same time, like, that's not what the audience wanted, what the people wanted. And I was like, wait, I want to fit in and be pretty and perfect. And then they want the raw. And as I transitioned into college, once again, I kept fighting exactly what you're talking about. The being pretty, being perfect, doing it right. When the gift of performance is that it's raw and real, and that we can connect to it with the innermost parts of ourselves that sometimes we can't even name, but we can connect to with sensation, with feeling. And being able to strip away those layers. And like one of my teachers, Julie Anne Page of Meisner and Music, really talks about, we've done this before, Tammy, repeating with the room and bringing in exactly what your environment and what you're naturally going through is, because that brings the words alive of the song. It brings the present moment into such a viscerally important thing that as the audience, as the viewer, as the listener, we get hooked. And that's the magic. There is still the technique that we work with of, yes, singing technically well is very important. Not only because it helps our ears listen, but it also allows us to touch into the beauty and the vessel and the vastness of the instrument. And that raw, unfiltered, this is how I am, this is what's going through me, that's a journey that we can just surrender to and that we can hook into. And that's where raw, real life comes in. And I remember our sessions of, we were in my home and you were singing Les Mis on my own, and just witnessing you sing from such an intimate place of yourself, and then seeing the tears roll down. Like, not only did I feel the heartbreak there, but I was just so compelled to watch you because it meant something. It means something. God, like, we have all these emotions. We might as well make beauty and art with them and share it. Not to like capitalize off of our emotions, but more so to lead them so our journey continues to move and physicalize and manifest.
I guess when I started Somatic Spirit, I never imagined that my thesis would kind of be like, your life is art, your body is the instrument. Like, this, don't tell me you're not an artist. Like, you're a creation of God. Like, you are art itself. But yet, it's been very hard, sometimes in our sessions, like just showing my body, showing me what it thinks is art, quote unquote, coming from the fashion design world, having gone to Parsons and then being in the fashion industry for so long. There's this like inbuilt belief that like my grief and rage and my quivering voice are ugly, because it doesn't sound good while I'm singing. But I remember that session. I think it was actually, I was singing I Dreamed a Dream. And it brought me into the place of grieving, the end of my 6-year relationship. And then shortly after, our dog going through a really traumatic slow death, and I was like responsible for caretaking her alone. And just like letting myself be there, like letting all of that be there and letting it be so tragic and ugly. And I didn't feel like I was quote unquote performing. I was just actually showing you my grief. And that was a huge journey in itself, to ever even feel safe to cry with someone or in front of someone, being so alone with my pain, as many of us can relate to. And it's rare. It's rare that I can be in that place of suffering and pain and to have a witness truly see me. And I don't even know that it happens as deeply in just like regular somatic therapy, because there's something about sound and voice and connecting to a song. Like, our teacher Adriana, she says like, sometimes there are places that are so painful in us that it can only be touched through art, through poetry, sound. And that's kind of how I feel. Like, I didn't have to tell you the story of what was happening for me, but I could tell you through feeling into the song and letting you just see it. And then to open my eyes and see your glazed over eyes, just like holding me in such compassion and loving witness without us needing to fix or solve anything. I've found that that is the balm for grief, just is to like not be alone in it. I'm curious for you if in my journey, I think I tend to thrash back and forth between things. So because I felt so wounded in the fashion industry and like being professional, quote unquote, artist and designer. When I found more like nonlinear movement and like just intuitive art making, I kind of went all in on that and really was like, fuck technical, fuck everything I've learned, you know. I've swung more in between now, but I'm curious if you went through something like that yourself between being a technical performer and then going on that healing journey to come into intuitive voice.
Yeah, I'm still vigorously thrashing between the two and trying to find what's correct. And yes, precisely. I just moved to New York, and it's interesting. Like I'm returning to this way of theater, of artistry that I ran away from, the one that's a bit more capitalistic and to me felt like I couldn't fit in. It constricted my breath. And at the same time, to be working in those environments where the caliber of technique is so strong and so high that the art that comes out is just like, it's incredible. That balance of structure and flow is one that I'm actively calling in and trying to find. Like, I remember I went to a 5 Rhythms dance class
In New York?
Yeah.
Yay.
And as fun as it was, yay. It was also like, this is actually too free for me. I want someone to say, no, that's not correct. Like, do it this way. I was hungry for that. And I still haven't connected yet with, I've tried a couple of classes. I still haven't connected with the teachers yet that I really want to be studying dance with. I have an amazing acting coach, actually, who I feel like offers me that freedom. Like, I was in a park, just a little anecdote. I chose to do my lesson in a park because I love working outside. And I'm working on a Shakespeare monologue for a grad school audition right now.
Which one?
And I was... which grad school or which Shakespeare?
Or like which Shakespeare monologue? From what?
This is the jailer's daughter. And there's this amazing monologue where she is in love with this man who is in prison, and her father is the prison guard. And so...
Wow. Oh my God.
And she's 15 years old, and she's discovering all of these feelings that she has, all of these like sexual feelings towards this man. But no, I can never marry him. And my teacher, Lisa Roth, she had me do it. She said, do it in the worst acting possible. She said, absolutely do it in terrible acting. So I am, once again, thrashing around this park like, why should I love this man to his odds? He will never affect me. I am base. You know, just like outrageous. But that was where the gold ended up being, was through her hormonal 15-year-old journey. And so I feel like with her, I found that balance of play, of wild, of unfiltered. And she's like, okay, have your breath, inhale before each sentence. We worked on the language. We worked on the text work. We worked on the entire arc. And it was married there. And so that's something, once again, that I try and to find with students, is that balance, because that's where flow state is. Like, we need to have structure. We need to have containment in order to go on the journey that life has for us, to find that vulnerability to a place where it's not just sitting flat. Because it's not fun to see someone sulking in their emotional state. I know that when I witness that, I feel like, I don't know, it's hard for me to be relating with them energetically. Yet when someone is going through their emotional space and is open to it moving and changing and journeying and witnessing that the energy's still going, it's the same thing with art. Like, we're there for the ride. And I guess that relates to when you were singing that song. To witness you were witnessing the unfolding of your experience as you were within it. And not only was that the therapeutic, but it became art too, because there was complexity and energy and questions to the information that was coming through as you were singing. And related, obviously, through music as the vessel, which already touches our hearts, which already speaks to our bodies in ways that our minds can't quite recognize the gravity of the power of sound.
Yeah, there's something you said about me witnessing my experience in the moment or something like, do you know the artist Marina Abramovich?
No.
Oh my gosh, she's like my favorite performance artist. She's been like my idol since college. But anyway, she has this really thick accent and she was sort of like, she does like crazy, gosh, how do I even describe this? She does performance art, and she and her partner Ulay were really famous for doing performance art together for the 10 years that they were together. And they would do all kinds of performance art just about the tenderness of relationship. Like one of their pieces is holding a bow and arrow together, where she's on the other side of the arrow and he's holding onto the string of the bow and he's just leaning back, you know, and it's like if either of them move incorrectly or if he lets go, like he will kill her. And then she had exhibition in the MoMA where she sat, I think it was for 8 weeks straight or something, for like 8 hours a day, just in one chair. And then anybody could come sit in the empty chair across from her. And kind of like the grand finale moment everybody was waiting for, because they had divorced like after their 10 years together, but they were very well known. After 23 years, I think, of being apart, that was the grand finale moment for him to come sit in front of her and for her to open her eyes to him and for them to just like feel and be with all of that emotion, you know, without words. I know it makes me tear up every time I think about that. And their breakup too, the performance art they did, it took 8 years for them to get the permit to be able to walk on the Great Wall of China. But they started on either ends of the Great Wall of China and walked towards each other, met in the middle, said their goodbyes. I know. And then walked apart. Like, how beautiful is that? I know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that gives you an idea of her work and why I'm so obsessed with her. But one of her quotes in the documentary of her called The Artist is Present, she was talking about the difference between performance art or being a performer and being an actor. And she was like, in performance, we use a real knife and it is your blood. In acting, we use a fake knife and ketchup. I don't want anything to do with ketchup. You know, something like that.
Yeah. Well, there's this, this Meisner's quote is, acting is living truthfully under imaginary circumstances. It's the living truthfully. That's the potency. Like, yeah, of course, actors are not gonna, but having blood in the game of this means something to me, and having enough of a distance from it as to where there needs to be a certain amount of distance from it, I think, to be able to not hold oneself, right? Where containment is really important. That's something that you and I have been exploring a lot. But having the container of recognizing, yes, this is so real to me, and there is space where this is still imaginary, where this is still something that I don't have to completely and wholesomely identify with. I mean, I'm still finding that balance as an artist, right? Like when I bring my whole blood into it, because I'm naturally like, I'm a very deep feeler, and I love feeling deep. I just do. And there's when it's too indulgent, I don't know, I think it loses some of that mystery, some of that relatability, the potency of allowing it to be interpreted in different ways as an artist. So all this goes to say is I agree with the blood, and for general safety and awareness of wanting to self-care and self-love as we put our whole selves into the art and still come back in one piece. Like, maybe we do need to smear a little, like maybe it needs to be, I don't know. I don't know how to bring in the fake blood and real blood metaphor here, but we at least, like, let's get some good Band-Aids.
Right. Totally.
So there's the care.
Containment, and obviously like in somatic experiencing, like titration, you know, like ways to create safety.
Yes.
But it's funny because now you left performance, or like you had a moment where you're like, this is too constricting, musical theater. And then you were like, I need to go.
Like New York and that performance structure. And I found different performance modalities all across the world that were not within that New
What is
York
that?
audition structure.
Right. Can you
That's like,
describe what
at
that
that
is?
time after college, it was a lot of like going to cattle call auditions, doing your 32 bar cut, auditioning for regional theaters with like hundreds of other people waiting in line, seeing if you get a call back, trying to get an agent, like just that type of way. Ideally, making it to Broadway or to having consistent regional work. And for me, I knew that showing up in a room where I just have 3 minutes to present myself, it wasn't where I was going to find that sense of alignment. It felt very empty for me. I didn't feel seen. I didn't feel important. And I noticed how that affected my voice. Like my
Yeah.
singing in those spaces was so much more lame. Like I didn't know how to sing and it wouldn't come out. Yet when I found theater that spoke to me and when I found types of singing that spoke to me, gosh, my voice opened up so fully. And so then I followed those threads and it led me to different theater companies and people and experiences where I didn't have to try to fit in. I just already did. It was already
Yeah.
right. And then I could deepen
Oh.
into it.
And now you're coming back, or you've gone back. You're now in New York and you're like back in the place that you quote unquote didn't fit in, right?
Yeah,
Does it
totally.
feel
Yes, I love challenging myself.
right? And I have a similar trajectory with fashion, going away, coming back to it in a more aligned way. Also having, when you go on that whole spiritual and like self love and healing journey, you come back to the original place, but from a different vantage point. Like, do you feel like you have more resilience or you're
Yes.
not as susceptible to what you used to inhibit you?
Yeah, it's really quickly, it reminds you of The Alchemist. Like the alchemist goes on this whole journey, and then the treasure is like, well, I won't give it away for those who have not read The Alchemist, but it's in a very familiar place. I'm still in the learning and the investigating stage, and
Yeah.
I'm finding that my way of connecting with opportunities has been fruitful, but they're still little sprouts. They're still little
Yeah.
sprouts. It's actually quite funny, or funnily enough, I've been manifesting doing a musical that it's a new work, like a new work musical. And also, I am Jewish, and there is some sort of affinity I have with playing Jewish roles. Like it just makes sense. I feel like there's something ancestrally that I want to sing into or embody on stage, especially because musical theater, right? The Jews had such a huge part in what is considered musical theater.
I didn't know that.
And oh yeah,
Tell me about it.
African American and Jewish people have so much influence on the world
Wow.
of musical theater. The composers, the musicians, the actors. Just that's we have those ancestors to thank. I learned about that in history, musical theater. Jessica Hillman McCord. And we can talk about that in another session. But I was like, okay, these are the worlds I want to go on, and avant-garde. Like, let's see how I can dip into those worlds here in New York to find my place. And my mom sent me auditions for a musical at a place where I did theater growing up, which was the JCC. It's JCC Center Stage. It's a professional theater in Rochester. And the music was exceptional. Exceptional. It's a story about a man who escaped from Denmark during World War II on fisherman boats going to Sweden. And the music is composed by Christian Douglas, who is currently in Moulin Rouge. And the music, and I was like, okay. And I auditioned and I got cast in it. So I
Oh
will
my
be
gosh.
playing a role in my hometown,
Oh my
my
God.
hometown of
You didn't
Rochester,
tell me
New
this.
York.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
And I had my callback in New York City in the writer's home because
Oh my
Charlotte, she works
God.
in New York. And so talk about going
Whoa.
back and returning to the place. Like I would have never Never
Oh my,
anticipated such a full circle moment.
totally. Oh, that brings tears to my eyes. Congratulations.
Thank
I'm so
you.
excited. Oh,
Thank you.
I
Yeah,
mean,
it's called The Sound. The Sound.
when is it going to be?
May.
For like,
May.
does it run for a while?
No.
Okay.
But
Oh my
like
gosh.
ideally, yes. The intention is that it's going to be picked up and continue
Yeah.
to
Oh,
expand and grow. I
yeah.
know that Charlotte has big dreams for it. So all that goes to say, it's like the returnings, and I will be really excited to see how I approach it from this embodied artistry that I now have, and how that can inform the character work and the realness that I didn't have access to before.
Right. When different parts of us are frozen from perfectionism and expectations. Yeah, there's something, it's like in my artistic career and like performance or what, like what you're describing is kind of like the hero's journey,
Yeah.
where your whole journey is the performance piece, not necessarily like any one role or whatever, but like how kismet for you to be in your hometown. Like it reminds me of what we do, in Body Temple with my teacher, Adriana, ritual theater, when we're tracing theater back to its roots, right? There was sacred theater, which was how people would gather together and be able to process and feel emotions in community. Anyway, and have you seen Hamnet?
I'm waiting to. I'm
Okay.
going to. So no, but it's on my list.
But all the themes of like wild woman and ritual theater and almost like bringing back the sacred into the arts, right? Like, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like when I left fashion, when I was like, I don't know how many years ago that was now, 2017. I feel like I've been noticing like this mass movement of people who like left their corporate jobs or like left the stiff way that they were doing things in whatever industry they were in, went on their healing journeys during COVID, like went on this whole like, what else is there to this life,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then, like you said, we can't for a moment, for a long while, I was like, it's all about rest and just deep embodiment and free flow, fluidness and intuition and fuck any structure, fuck anything, that requires discipline of me. And then I feel like in the last 2 years or so, I started like the energies of like healing the masculine started being very evident across like everybody's healing journeys. And like for me, the quote like chop wood, carry water, kind of like that lesson of like incorporating back in the discipline from before, but it's different now when it's merged with this like embodied aliveness, the sacred. And in many ways, I see it as like the masculine and the feminine, like the ecstatic, like embodied aliveness of the feminine and then incorporating back in the masculine in a healthy way for structure and containment and discipline for us to be able to, I feel like we're like in a huge shift of restructuring the world and systems right now. And speaking of containment,
Yes.
that you brought up containment. Like I kind of hate that part is like having to be like aware of my rib cage and my breath, as you always point out. But every time you call out an adjustment like that, I'll go from being in like my maiden archetype where I'm just like, I could feel my body kind of limp. Like I want somebody to save me. I want somebody to come be my daddy. And then when I'm responsible for my breath and my rib cage and holding myself and being connected to my womb space, the sound turns into mother. It's more mature, it's contained,
Yes.
it's
Yes.
soulful. And even something as simple as like lip trills, which like, it's like when how would you describe a lip trill? If I do it, I feel like it'll block the sound out. Like,
Yeah, you did it.
but like,
Yeah.
it's so easy for me to lose the lip trills because my lips get like really stiff in our practice or whatever. And then the other day when you were like, notice how you're like giving it away. You're like blowing it all out. See if you can like contain it and keep it for yourself. Like, and then I was able to actually go through the entire lip trill because I don't want to say control, but I had containment of my own body, and the sound came through and the muscles did the thing that I wanted them to do. And this is like an exact example of like how your work is so somatic and like ties right into like the somatic therapy, stuff that I do, because like I had some like somatic recognition or understanding of things I knew cognitively about, like in women's sexuality work, like teaching how many of us were taught that when we're hot, we need to like give it out to a man. Like for so many of us, our appearance was for the male gaze, right? And then to have been taught and have been practicing sexual containment within my Containers and Body Temple with Adriana. And then I was like, oh, notice the difference that just happened right then in that moment when I actually contained the sound for myself. It's like revelatory little things like that happen in our sessions.
It's so interesting how close it is to life, like to the center, and how to get to that place. It takes that inward connection. There's a beautiful, beautiful song that is just God to me. It's from The Color Purple, and it's the Color Purple reprise, and like the lyric is just as close as my breath is to me. Like that's where God is, just as close as my breath is to me. And when we are touched into that place through the breath, through the control, through that containment, then that's where then we can give, and then how we open. And like when we're singing too, another teacher of mine, Anthony Moore, he goes, sing in and down, find the unknown. He's this incredible British opera singer, and he's telling me, he's traveled all over the world, and he's telling me, this like wild little Chiquita, you have to find the unknown in yourself. You have to find the mystery. I'm like, God, well, if he's saying it, like something must be true in that. And it's the same when we're singing. If we're singing outwards to impress, to show, then our voice feels strained. It's ugly. It's not, it loses its art. It loses its like, ow, all the time. But when there's that balance of that containment in and coming from the place, and then we can share that with the world, the quality of sound, as you were saying, goes from that, I need to look outside of myself to find it, versus that wisdom and that trust. It changes the sound. It becomes more whole. Yeah.
Right. But what are like rewiring of everything we've ever been taught, just from socialization, our families, like what was taught to be good, even in my own journey of, I don't know, do you know what a pick me girl is?
No.
It's like this trend on TikTok and Instagram. Yeah, like pick me, like, it's like the girl in high school, AKA me, that was like, I love hanging out with, I'm just one of the boys. Like, I don't really, it's like, it's this way of acting so that you can like appeal to men, and be chosen and be just here's me on a silver platter. And how that ripples out into dating, like I'll do anything. Like if I'm just available, and if I do enough and I nurture you enough, like you'll pick me. Right. And often has that gone very well for you before? Have you been there ever?
Have I been there ever? I was never one to like hang with the boys. I was way too just hyper and like, and, goofy to be one to, but, that openness that I can do whatever. It put me in a lot of really, 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 shall we say, unaligned and potentially dangerous in the way that I gave a lot of myself away to men. Especially when I was younger, I really thought that like I was not only chasing what people said was hook up, like that hooking up is like, I don't know what's up with hookup culture, but apparently it was important growing up. I thought it was
like another one under your belt,
Yeah. And like, but then there's this double standard but then if you hook up with too many people,
you're
then,
a slut.
we know the slut. And then all along, I was just trying to seek vulnerable connection.
Right.
And understand connection. And because of that, I really chased connection and extended myself in places where I was not valued.
Right.
I was not. And I thought I was. At that
Right.
maiden stage, I really thought that someone was choosing me because they saw my light and that we could have depth together, when in actuality, it was not like that. And I'm still, in fact, just on the brink of healing myself from all of those moments of just saying, oh, great, someone chose me. That means that I'm meant to be here.
Or that I'm worthy, right? Like somebody sees
which
me.
is what it comes from. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And this has been so much of my journey in the past few years, really healing the codependency and like earning secure attachment and belonging to myself, but just to, through the journey of working with you and all these other modalities, that like giving it away, it's like I'm surprised to find that when I started working with Adriana and sexuality, it's all women's tantra. So we're doing sexuality work with other women together. And there was part of me that was always like, well, there aren't other men. Like, how am I going to work on my sexuality if I'm just with women, right? And it was such a rewiring for me to learn how I can be with my own sexuality and keep it for myself. And that because my brain would make that mean I'm lonely or I'm desperate or, who can I impress and give this to? I'm hot now. Like, who can I give this to while I'm still hot? And then repatterning all that to learn the containment of that energy and to channel it in different ways, whether it's performance or work, my own life force, my own cultivation of like what my gift is here, my authentic expression, ironically, I've found is the most attractive thing to men and women. I've never had men falling at my feet like I have this year. Like that has never happened to me before. And before that, it was like all these years of emphasizing how attractive I was, like putting so much emphasis on how I dressed, how much I ate so that I could like stay a certain size, and how much I can like give out all of that to earn love. And now that it's like contained, it's like effortless, that's just like a byproduct of me being close to myself. What did you say? The breath, something, what was that quote?
Just as close as my breath is to me.
Yeah.
Like God, that earlier in this song, it's
right.
talking about however God is, what spirit, love, connection.
Yeah.
Right. It reminds me too, just bringing it back to voice and performance. I was listening to myself. I was singing by the water and I recorded it. And I was noticing that when I was singing out and really giving, like the sound lost I wasn't interested in it anymore. It became like, okay, I already know what this is. But when I was more inside of whatever it was inside myself, inside the sounds, I was like, okay, I can soften into this and then receive and discover what is unraveling. And I don't know, it's the same thing. It's reflected everywhere. How you in your journey, when you decided to contain yourself and your sexuality, how that attracted people when we're on stage and we are really working from that place, then it draws people in. It draws people in to watch. It's really curious. It's such a paradox.
What's like a metaphor from your journey of performance have you like related to your life?
Oh my God, everything. Yeah, it's a good question. It's very expansive. I want to bring it into things that we've been discussing. Let's see. Well, the first thought that popped into my head, which I'm sure I will find yumminess in it, is when I was living in New Mexico, beloved New Mexico, I created 2 one-woman cabarets. And they were musical theater. And then my second cabaret was all jazz songs that I created with a specific arc that mirrored what my journey in life had been. So the first one was coming home to herself. And I resourced from all of these musical theater characters who I adored. Sally Bowles, Fanny from Funny Girl, who else? Yeah, just these epic characters who
You had
I...
Wicked?
Yes, of course I had Wicked Elphaba. Um, yeah. And I weaved in stories. And actually, this was about me breaking out of the constrictions that I found that I didn't fit into in the real world and in the musical theater New York world, and breaking out and finding my way through a more flowy, dynamic path. And being able to perform that on stage not only helped me to ground everything I'd been through, but also to give it back for reciprocity. So
Yeah.
I think that performance teaches me about reciprocity and teaches me about how to balance my own life and drama
Yeah.
with the outer world and how to be in right relationship with that
Yeah.
reciprocity.
I don't want to ruin Hamnet, but there was a theme and it brought me back to ritual theater. Like when, after going through the whole grief process with Nala, like there was a moment where I was asked to be a character in somebody else's prayer performance, and it allowed me, it was like a long monologue on death and losing many members of her family. And then I was supposed to like cover her with white towel and like grieve. But like those cries were so real because I had just been in like 8 months of mourning alone over my dog Nala dying. And that is like another thesis that I've come to lately of like, all of our human emotions and all of our life experiences are so worth it in that moment that you have like let it marinate in the soil, and like you can bring it out in a way that touches somebody. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that connects us too to, I know you and I both have a relationship with the mother, but the all there isness. With the, like I have the circle behind me, but of the wheel of the, we don't have to carry this all on our own. That what we're experiencing too we can share this as the human experience.
Right. There's something about restoring right relationship too in the arts. Like you're talking about that energy when you first came into that world was sort of like, let me put out, and somebody else decides my worth. And so that's just like
Yes.
this blocked energy,
Mm-hmm.
it goes out
literally,
and it drains, goes out, drains, and like goodbye. And now it's like this reciprocal energy of going into the depths and the darkness of your intuition and the fertile soils of your becoming, and like taking all that grief and all that pain and then it becoming wisdom and then going back out.
Yes. And then, and sharing it. It reminds me too of the wheel. Like, and then as we become the elders and the grandmas and giving back to the grandchildren and the seasons, right? Going inwards for the winter when we're bleeding, the going inwards until then when we're ovulating, being able to share that joy. We can't stay in this constant upwards, 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 upwards. For life, we need to have that within the structure, within the linear containments that we create. Like, that helps us to keep showing up as well.
Yeah. Beautiful. So you taught in my Wild Women. Yes?
It reminds me too of the voice, like the actual vocal muscles, the breath being the circle, the ha, whereas like the engagement is that control. The bow and arrow imagery that you brought in earlier of that going in and going out with the flow of the breath. Like, I don't know, it's all physically manifested as well to connecting to the center of the sound.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yes, the
it's
wild woman.
funny. Well, control, that word is like so triggering, just because when, the wild woman is so much about deconditioning from the patriarchal ways that we learned to hold our bodies and how productivity is linear and how God is a man in the sky and the male gaze, all the things, right? And the ways that we learn to be so masculine and controlling of ourselves. So that word is like charged, and I find myself hesitating to say it, but I think we do still need control,
Yeah,
reclaiming
totally.
control.
Totally. I was with someone last night singing jazz, and he was like, these singers, they just have such control over their sounds.
Wow. Especially for jazz, because jazz is so like, I think. Yeah, exactly.
Well, we're scatting and all of yeah. But it's true. Like, to have that control, then everyone else in the band can find their spaces if the singer's really holding and is in control. Like, that's hot. That's hot shit to
Like
be
it
in
actually,
control.
it
In control to
requires
the unknowing.
Exactly. Okay, that's the paradox right there.
That's
It's like
that's the paragon. Yeah.
actually it reminds me of like how much effort goes into looking effortless, like in a fashion way. Like the
Yeah,
perfect rumpled half tuck and like,
like
the au
the hair,
naturel
like
hair. Yeah, but that's actually quite controlled.
yeah, it's funny. But that also comes with, I think, yes, in the fashion world, but also when I see people and I think, oh my God, they're so sexy in their effortlessness. It's because they know themselves and they're so perhaps not in control of themselves,
And
but like
containment.
in containment of themselves. And that's when I'm like, oh, you effortless beauty. Like,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, and I think it's becoming clear that maybe what you'll be teaching in the Wild Woman through sound will be a lot around containment, whether it's our sexuality, our energy, our whatever, Yeah, I'm curious, like, if we were just like channeling in this moment, like what is coming through you in terms of the wild woman archetype and containment and what you would be inspired to transmit?
This is fun. Well, two things are coming through right now. One is I like to do this vocal exercise with my students where we really sing outside of ourselves and then sing in. And it's kind of like rocking back and forth and finding what's really far back, what's really out, what's there. So playing with actual quality of toning and maybe doing some sort of an exercise where when you found that within yourself, there's a tap, there's a okay. So that somatic experience of containing and noticing how that affects the voice. And then creatively, I think there is something to be said about harnessing our parts and bringing them back in. And we explored creating melodies last course, just intuitive melodies that people wanted to sing. And I'm wondering if this time maybe we could bring. Ooh, okay. I have an idea. I was just with my mentor, Greg. You know Greg from the.
Wait, that's your mentor?
Yeah. Yeah.
Was that like from meeting him in New York? In Body
Yes.
Temple? That is
Yes.
so cool. Oh my God.
Yes. I
Wow.
love him.
Oh
We
my
just,
gosh.
yeah, I know. We just sat for 3, honestly, and I'm so sorry for this. In my phone, his name is Greg Priestess. And so his last name, I kind of forget. Um, but because I'm such a visual learner. Anyways, dear Greg, we'll make footnotes if anyone wants to learn about this absolute genius, gorgeous being. We did this exercise where with a prayer we come up with words that remind us of something. So let's say the word is mother, womb, warm, safe. What do you have, Tammy? Mother. What words?
Did you already say priestess?
No.
Oh,
Well, yes,
yeah.
but not in this context.
Okay, priestess.
Okay. Darkness, fertile, abundance.
Clarity.
Okay. Clarity. For clarity of this exercise, we would then take the words within the words and create a prayer.
Mm-hmm.
So, abundance, dance. Yeah, I don't just the stems of the words. So I'm thinking perhaps we could do some sort of a living prayer, integrating different life moments that people come up with in relation of their voice, and then finding the stems within those words, and then creating a poem that then becomes a song. So there's the
That's so
structure of the words and
beautiful.
the language, and then the melody can be a bit more free flowing.
Wow. Yeah. And that's just like an alchemical ceremonial prayer that we do together that is witnessed. And that's the beauty of like in body temple prayer formats, or like any way that I've used art for ceremony. These are like, we're like casting spells, you know, we're like coming together and like mixing just like magic in this cauldron with our sound and with our creativity. And there's something about that like shared intention and witnessing that makes things just come true, or it makes things happen. Like it really feels like magic making in my experience.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Magic
that's so exciting.
making. I love,
you know, like when I'm like
making.
6 months later and I'm texting you like, Julie, you'll never guess what I manifested. Do you remember this session? Like, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's really like, it's incredible the power of our voices and
Right.
and what we alchemize, how it has an effect. It's just really, really just brings me to such surrender. Like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to have you in the Wild Woman again this year. And I'm really feeling the energy this year. It's like stronger. This will be the third time that I've run it. And
Magic 3.
yeah. And I think it's also because I've been on like some crazy de-shedding journey myself, as we were just in Inanna, a prayer formance together, you know, and I've been through a deep underworld journey, and I'm just really excited. Like you said, like for the offering aspect of it, like I feel I'm finally on this brink where I'm looking back and I'm like, oh, so it was all for this. There's just so much transformation and pain and shedding and suffering these past 2 years. And finally, I'm like, oh, it was for this.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yes, and to just bring it back to this moment too, like you're bleeding right now, and our blood, and to bring it back to blood, our blood is an offering. Our blood as an offering. Blood as a, like what we're shedding can go back and nourish the earth.
mm-hmm.
And that's
beautiful.
The same with your offering, the same with what the performance artist who you love, Adria, what's her name?
Marina Abramovich.
Not even close.
Adriana Rizzo is
yes,
we love amazing
her.
artist we love.
Different, incredible, who loves blood too.
Yes.
Yes. How that then we continue to give our gifts back.
Yeah. So before we hop off today, I'd love to hear how you're working with people. So if anybody listening to this like feels really called, how can they find you? How can they work with you?
Yes. So I offer in-person sessions right now in the New York area, and that can either be at my studio, that can also be at your homes, or in nature. I love in-person nature-based lessons that just we've done. Like Tammy and I have worked in rivers, in arroyos together, and the rituals that come out of those moments are profound.
Can I just tell a story about one of them?
Yeah. Yes, please.
Well, there's maybe two, but like one of them I remember distinctly was when we were in a river, like my feet in the river, and you had me make different sounds, like touching the water and the rocks and the trees. Like how would I sound, or how would I sound being in connection with these elements, which was always like so triggering for me to like be so goofy or like awkward and be witnessed, by like a true performer. Like it was, it's, you have to like work through so much, but I think finally when I got to a place of like, just like a deeper dropping in and more trust in myself, and I kind of like moved through that, I think you finally asked me what song is there. And the song that came through was Pocahontas, Colors of the Wind. And I think at the time, ongoingly for so long, there was so much in the news about Palestine, and it was just so heavy and it was so painful. And just like for that song to come through, like you think you own whatever land you land on. The world is just a brown thing brown thing you can claim. And it was just it was like the processing of this grief and that I didn't even really know I was holding, but it was like ancient colonization pain, just coming through that song that I hadn't even thought of probably since I was a kid. So that's just one example of how, Julie works from nature and the body up and how it informs me of where I am in my journey and what is coming up to be unwound or felt or experienced.
I remember that so clearly. So clearly. Thank you. Yes, I love working in nature myself. And so being able to guide others into that discovery, it touches magic. It just touches magic. I just become a vessel, and whatever intuitive instructions I receive to help guide, they land more on. I feel it's a collaboration, but it's just, oh God, it's such a sacred space to be in. So there's that, and also bringing that into the home space, like, right? It is everywhere. So I also do, like I said, virtual sessions. And honestly, I love virtual sessions as the receiver, especially when they're in my own home space, because I then connect with my womb, the where I live, with more tools, more resource, and can apply that and integrate it more actively. So I offer one-on-one sessions, and I also do group sessions. I love working with groups. I work a lot as a teacher, teaching groups of women and also children theater and singing and dance. And there's just something about the group energy that up-levels the work. It just creates this interrelational potency that, I don't know, it just vibrationally shifts the work. So happy to lead virtual or in-person group sessions too.
Yay! Me and Julie have been doing virtual since she moved to New York, as I've started to do in-person group work, which like triggers a lot of my visibility stuff and fears and terrors. All my ancestral terror is showing up in my body. And so we've been working together like on the days that I'm going to be holding space, and just being able to be in my body, in my sound, and for you to like remind me how to be close to myself and my core through all of our vocal warm-ups, like completely changed the way that my presence comes into a space and how I hold space. It's like, it's really night and day. So that's like just another example of reasons. It's like, we don't need to become a singer. We don't need to be striving for Broadway or to even be good, but it impacts, it's a way for me to be in touch with my presence in whatever way I want to bring that. So
yes,
I just am excited for anybody who will receive the gift of your medicine.
Thank you.
Thank you
It's
so much.
Such an honor. It's such an honor.
Thank you so much
for bringing me into a space that it really feels like I'm serving, and it really feels like I can be 100% present and alive and connected. Like working with you and teaching in general, it feels so right. And I love, love, love going into those spaces with you.
Well, more to
come. And with all my students.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, I will see you soon, love, and good luck with rehearsals and everything else going on in New York right now.
Thank you. And I appreciate it. And thanks for listening, everyone. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out.
Yeah, I'll put your Instagram and link in the show notes so that people can find you.
And my mentor's last name.
Yes. Perfect.
Cascus, I think. Okay.
Mwah.